There's a specific kind of person who can't walk past a new idea without feeling it tug on their sleeve. Your camera roll is full of screenshots you swear you'll come back to. Your Notes app is basically a museum of future selves. And your browser has 12 tabs open, one about learning Italian, one about starting a podcast, one about urban gardening, one about coding, and somehow a deep dive on how whales sleep. And at some point, you look at your life and think, why can't I just be one thing? And the worst part is, you don't even trust your excitement anymore. Not because you don't love what you start, but because your mind keeps finding more to love. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that isn't random, why it's often less about discipline and more about what your nervous system learned to do to stay safe. If you have too many interests, it usually doesn't look like laziness. It looks like a mind with dynamic attention, always reaching, always mapping. You probably have a few almost versions of yourself scattered around your room or your hard drive. A half-finished novel, a guitar you were genuinely learning, a business idea with a name, a logo, and a midnight burst of confidence, a workout plan you researched like it was a final exam. You might fall in love with a new subject so fast it feels like chemistry, and then one day the spark fades and you're left staring at it like, wait, what happened to me? You're probably good at starting, and people notice that. They call you multi-talented, interesting, a fast learner. But the compliment lands like pressure, because you're the only one who knows how many times you've had to say, yeah, I was into that, for a while. And here's the subtle part. You're not just collecting hobbies, you're collecting worlds, ways of thinking, languages, systems, styles, identities. But that's just the surface, because when one of those worlds fades, it doesn't just feel like boredom. It can feel like losing a version of you. And here's what nobody really tells people like you. The hardest part isn't having many interests, it's what those interests are quietly doing for you in the background. From the outside, this can look fun, even impressive, but inside, it can feel like living with a mind that never fully puts its bags down. Because every interest you've ever loved is still in there somewhere, like a room you don't want to lock. And when you try to choose one path, it can feel like you're betraying the others. And there's a very specific moment that can sting. Someone asks, so what do you do? Or you're filling out a form and it wants one clean answer, occupation. And you can smile, you can say something that sounds normal, but inside it can feel like you're trying to fold an entire sky into one small box. You might watch friends your age become the one who does that thing, the nurse, the engineer, the creative director, the therapist, and you're happy for them, while a quieter part of you wonders why you still feel like you're in the lobby reading all the brochures. And it's not just the tiredness of doing too much, it's the tiredness of wanting too much. Because you don't only want success, you want expression, meaning, range. You want a life wide enough to fit your whole mind. And sometimes, if you're being honest, you might secretly worry that your curiosity is a flaw, that one day someone will look at your graveyard of interests and decide it proves something about you. So you start prejudging yourself before anyone else can. Because if you judge yourself first, no one gets to surprise you with it. And that can be unbelievably lonely. So the question comes back, usually late at night, usually when you're alone. If this keeps hurting, why do you keep doing it? Why can't you just stop? For a lot of people with too many interests, this didn't start as a personality quirk. It started as an adaptation. Not for everyone, but for many people, there's a common thread. Somewhere along the way, being just one thing didn't feel safe enough. Maybe you grew up in a home where the emotional weather changed quickly, and part of you became a scanner, reading the room before you even knew you were doing it. You learned to read a door closing, footsteps, tone, the way silence could mean everything's fine or something is about to happen. And when your nervous system learns early that life can shift without warning, it often becomes good at options, because options mean escape routes. Options mean you're not trapped. Or maybe your story was quieter. Maybe you were praised for being gifted, interesting, full of potential. And the love wasn't cruel, it was just a little conditional. You got seen when you impressed people. You got attention when you surprised them. You got approval when you became something new. So staying full of potential felt safer than becoming one specific thing someone could evaluate. And your younger self did something incredibly intelligent. It kept expanding. If I can do many things, I can't lose my place. And sometimes it wasn't even about other people. Sometimes your mind discovered that new interests gave you relief, a fresh start, a new identity, a world where you could be a beginner again without the old expectations. So no, you didn't randomly become this way. Your brain built a strategy. Stay curious, stay moving, stay ready. And it worked until it started costing you peace. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't a flaw, it was a solution. A mind with many interests often has a rare kind of intelligence, not just knowing facts, but seeing patterns across different worlds. There's even a term for it sometimes, when your mind carries learning from one room of life into another. That's why you can study music and suddenly understand coding, learn design and suddenly understand relationships, get into fitness and suddenly understand discipline, then apply it to art. Your brain wasn't built to live in one narrow hallway. It was built to build bridges. And yes, most cultures reward clean narratives, one title, one lane, one identity. So of course you learn to doubt yourself. But that doubt wasn't truth. It was conditioning. You don't have to shrink into something simpler to be taken seriously. You don't have to clean up your mind to be worthy of respect. Because what looks like chaos from the outside could be coherence on a deeper level. And once you see that, once you feel it, the next question becomes more gentle, more honest. How do you recognize the moment your curiosity stops being nourishment and starts becoming relief, a doorway you use when something inside feels tight? You might notice this pattern in a few specific moments. One is right after friction. You hit the awkward middle where you're no longer new and not yet good, and suddenly your mind offers a clean exit, a brand new fascination. That's not you being weak, that's your nervous system looking for relief. Another is when you feel emotionally crowded, overwhelmed, misunderstood, lonely, restless. A new interest shows up like a door that opens from the inside. And one more, when choosing one thing feels like shrinking, not because you don't want commitment, but because commitment can feel like losing parts of yourself. In others, it can look like someone who's always reinventing themselves, always evolving, always learning, always changing the playlist of who they are, not as a performance, more like a nervous system searching for the right shape to live in. This isn't about fixing yourself overnight. A gentle starting point is simply noticing the difference between curiosity and urgency. Curiosity feels spacious, it adds life to you. Urgency feels like you're trying to outrun something, pressure, fear, the sense of falling behind. And even naming that in real time can change the whole experience. Not because it forces you into one path, but because it gives you choice back. And choice is what you didn't always have. This awareness isn't here to make you into a different person. It's here to make you a kinder witness to the person you already are. And that's already more than most people ever do. Maybe you were never too much. Maybe you were just trying to be safe in every direction. So here's a real question to sit with, one that might explain more than any productivity advice ever could. When did you first learn that being many things was safer than being just one? If you want, share your answer in the comments. Not a yes or no, but a moment, a memory, a pattern you've noticed. And if this resonated, you might also recognize yourself in a closely connected pattern, people who hide behind humor, what they're protecting. Not because you're hiding something bad, because humor can be how safety sounds. That video is next.